Hey, what's up? How's it going? I have a question for you. What do these 8 players have in common? They've all won a championship, they're all-time great players, but none of these commonalities are the right answer. MVPs. They're the only players in NBA history to win 3 MVP trophies. Despite these anomalies happening in nearly every decade, the chances of capturing 3 most valuable player awards is beyond rare. Over its history, the NBA has seen over 5,000 players step foot on the court, which means that 1 in every 625 players is a 3-time MVP. They're simply one of the rarest breeds of players to come across, and this exclusive group may add another member this season, because Giannis Antetokounmpo is dominating the NBA in a way that has never been seen before, and it may just be worthy of a 3rd MVP. It's the year 2000. With the recent surge of talent, the fight to become the next face of the NBA has been competitive. But it didn't last long. Shaq reigned dominance over the league. He portrayed agility, quickness, and a brute force that allowed him to essentially score the same way over and over and over again. This was Shaquille O'Neal at the peak of his powers. Now here's what Giannis Antetokounmpo is doing this season. Looks familiar, doesn't it? Yet he's averaging more points, more assists, and a shocking discrepancy in field goal percentage. Shaq's incredible season had him 1 vote away from winning the MVP unanimously. Giannis is somehow moving outside of the conversation. Antetokounmpo is managing to not only replicate the most dominant season we've ever seen, but he's doing it even better than Shaq did. When O'Neal won the MVP in 2000, he shot 40.2% of his field goals 0 to 3 feet from the basket. From the same distance this season, Giannis has been attempting over 52% of his field goals in this area. Even in a shooter's paradise, Giannis has been able to completely dominate one area of the court. Defenders know what's about to happen, but there's virtually nothing they can do about it. At this same 0 to 3 foot range, Giannis makes his shots at a ridiculous 82% clip. Shaq, in the absolute prime of his career, shot 77.6% from this area. It only reinforces the thought that Giannis is the MDS. You know, the modern day Shaq. In fact, Giannis is shooting a better percentage from that range this year than Shaq ever shot in his entire career. This is the definition of pure dominance. And by the looks of it, it hasn't been an accident. Not only is Giannis attempting his lowest amount of threes since 2016, but the average distance of his shots stand just shy of 7 feet from the basket. He's clearly made a conscious decision headed into this season to ignore anything that has to do with shooting, instead focusing on the real strengths of his game. Giannis is currently averaging his 2nd highest point per game average, a career high in assists per game, and field goal percentage. In fact, there are only 2 players in NBA history that have ever averaged 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists on 55% from the field. They're both Giannis. You know what? Just remove the rebounds and assists. He's the only player to ever average 30 points while shooting 60% from the field. Dude, this is a historically efficient season. It's kind of ridiculous. Over the years, the NBA world was pleading for Giannis to develop a jump shot, but that wasn't going to make him better. It was only going to make him balanced. Tell me, is it better to be great at many things or to be exceptional at one? Shaq put all of his eggs into one basket. The man essentially deleted the jump shot out of his brain, and it benefited him. He became exceptional at what he was already great at, which made him unstoppable. Giannis has taken the same approach this season by doubling down on what he has, and he's thriving. How rare is it to see a player in today's NBA reduce their 3-point attempts, and subsequently increase their scoring. Giannis is currently 201st in 3-point attempts and 3rd in points per game, by far the most drastic variance from points to threes. In fact, here are the 15 leading scorers in the NBA tied to their 3-point attempts per game. Other than Shea and Jokic, who attempt 3 threes per game, 12 of the top 15 scorers average over 5 shots from deep every night. The league's best players nowadays are also the league's best shooters. It highlights Giannis's versatility, or lack thereof. The fact that he's averaging over 30 points a night on less than 1 3 made per game is absurd, because the last time any player pulled this off was when Michael Jordan did it all the way back in 1992, over 32 years ago. What we're witnessing is generational, and it may be the last of its kind. With the direction that the game has been going, a future looms where every single player has a 3-pointer in their bag. We're not even a decade into this 3-point revolution, and there are rookies that are stepping onto the court with the green light to pull one-legged threes from 28 feet out. It's cool, but it's also completely insane. We have to appreciate what Giannis has been doing, because even without the 3, he's been able to impact winning in a major way. Despite all the negativity surrounding the Bucks this year, Milwaukee has boasted an elite offensive engine this season. Their offensive rating sits at 120.6. I mean, with 2 superstars on your team, your offense should be great. But the truth is, only 1 star has really mattered to the Bucks. When Giannis isn't on the court, that 5th best offensive rating drops down to the 29th worst in the NBA. That's worse than the Pistons, worse than the Wizards, and even worse than the Portland Trail Blazers. Giannis has been out of this world this season, and it's because he has to. When the Bucks acquired Damian Lillard, the hope was that they were trading for the guy who averaged a career-high 32 points per game last season in hopes of relieving at least a little bit of pressure off Giannis. They received Jordan Poole's distant cousin. Dame has been stinking it up. He's having one of the worst seasons of his career. The Bucks have gone through 3 head coaches in the last 12 months, and they still have Thanasis on the team. The worst of the 3 problems. Despite all of this, Giannis has been putting the Bucks on his back, carrying them to a top 3 seed in the East while having the best statistical season of his career. Do you smell that? It smells like Giannis is very valuable to his team. Maybe even the most valuable. The addition of Lillard has only guaranteed one thing: less shots for Giannis. As mentioned earlier, he's 3rd in the league in scoring, but he's ranked 14th in field goal attempts, a feat that hasn't been seen in decades. In fact, here is every 30-point per game season since 1985. The more to the right a player is, the more points he averaged. The lower a player is, the less amount of field goals he's attempted. AI, Kobe, and Jordan are the only players to have attempted over 27 shots per game in a season. One of them was clearly much more inefficient than the others. There's T-Mac in 2003 when he averaged 32 a game, and further to the right is Harden when he averaged 36 on 24 shots a night. Now, the lower we get, the more efficient the seasons become, like Curry in 2021, averaging 32 on 21 shots per game, and a 2020 Dame Lillard that the Bucks wish they got. Karl Malone and Joel Embiid are the only players to average 30 on less than 20 shots a night in the last 39 years. Well, that's if Giannis never existed. Averaging 30 on 18 shots a night is bananas. He's separating himself from the greatest scoring seasons from the greatest players ever. It's unreal. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. It's the free throws, right? Giannis averages 30 on so few shots because he gets to the line more than anybody on the graph. That's actually not the case. Of the 10 lowest field goal attempted seasons, The free throw attempts are very similar outside of Shea and Curry. Giannis is simply having one of the most efficient seasons of all time, yet his chance at the MVP is a long shot. Why? Giannis brings unparalleled value to his team, while efficiently scoring night in and night out. Outside of rebounding, he's been statistically better this season than both of his MVP campaigns. So, what's holding him back? When Giannis won in 2019, the Bucks won 60 games and had the #1 record in the NBA. When he ran it back the next year, they were also the #1 seed in the league. There's an obvious trend, right? Since 1985, over 87% of the MVPs have been the first or second seed in the NBA. According to history, Giannis is going to have to go on a hell of a run to snag his third MVP. But in the same breath, over the last few years, seeding seems to matter less and less. So why not Giannis? What the numbers, records, and impact don't take into account is the black hole that every MVP conversation revolves around. The super awesome cool narrative. It definitely doesn't hold any biases or anything like that. That'd be so dumb. 5 years ago, it was a great story. A blossoming superstar who came from nothing in Greece becomes the most valuable player in the NBA. This season, the narrative isn't as bright and attractive as it once was. And it sucks, because a player can have an all-time great season and, in essence, be the most valuable player. But if there's a storyline that outshines the other, it tends to be the deciding factor for the award. It's inconsistent. The narrative was one of the reasons that Giannis won the MVP in the past, but it may be the reason that he doesn't win it this year. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.